Welcome back. This is the D6 podcast, the Open D6 podcast, and I am Dan Yeager from Gears and Steam.
And I'm Nick.
And today we're going to be talking about just the basic rule that everything builds off of the dice mechanic.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere, and most systems do have something like this. And I think there's some easy ways to describe it as D&D might use. We have perception, and this really depends on which system you are using.
Let's just
Yeah.
talk about the just the dice mechanic.
Okay.
So let's say you've got a stat of 3D plus 2. What does that even mean?
Well, part of that is a pip. Or actually, we should start with the actual dice. Could you say that one more time to me?
Okay, you got 3D plus 2. What do you do with it?
Yeah,
Um,
3D.
yeah, you got 3D plus 2 and say your search skill.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to search, you'd be rolling 3D, 3 dice. They would all be D6 because that's all we use. And then the pips are just numbers that you add on to them. A pip, if you think about it this way, every dice is made up of 3 pips. That is essentially its value.
And each pip, okay, so each pip is a third of a die.
Mm-hmm.
And you add that to your roll. Now, one of those dice is a wild die. There are 3 types of dice. They're all 6-siders, but you can either have a simple die, which whatever the number is on the die, that's what it means. A quality die, which when it rolls a 6, that's good. You add the 6 to your total like you would normally, and then you get to re-roll it like you had another die. And if that rolls a 6, you keep re-rolling. And finally, you've got an actual wild die. Most skill rolls will use one wild die, and all the rest of the die will be simple dice. A wild die has the same quality advantage when it rolls a 6, but when you roll a 1, that's bad. And there's different ways people do that in their own home game systems. There's different rule books that do the wild die 1 a little different here and there.
Mm.
But in Classic, you either decide, hey, I want to take a bad thing happening, or I want to take that wild die and whatever the highest other die is away. And in Classic, 100% of the time, that's what people do. You want to add to anything?
I did want to say that this wild die rolling a 6, usually it's called an explosion.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of games that have exploding dice. So in the World of Darkness setting, if you roll a 10, those explode. But I want to mention to everyone we are about 4 minutes into the video, and you understand, hopefully, the whole mechanic that the whole game system runs off of. That's how hard it is. If you understand this one thing, you really know how to play.
Yeah, we'll get you set up.
But okay, so let's get a combat example. I've got 5D in my archery skill, which some games call missile weapons, some games call bows.
Primitive.
Some people, yeah, primitive weapons. That's another one, but they're basically all the same skill. I've got 5D. I'm trying to hit a target. I roll 5 dice. I add them all up, and let's say the total is 15. So I'm aiming at you. What would you do?
Well, I would probably try and dodge that. Dodge is usually the universal term. As long as something is being aimed at you, the only time when you're trying to avoid being attacked, and it's not dodge, is melee, brawling, parry. So if I have 3 dice in my reflexes, as we would say for open d6, dexterity, if we were playing Star Wars, I would roll that. And, depending on the outcome, I might dodge you and I might not. But
So
pretty
that would be just if you're just using the attribute. You haven't put any points into your dodge or whatever you call your evasion stat. But 3 die is kind of poor for a dodge and evasion roll. Most people like to put a few dice extra into their skill. But let's say you've got just the 3 dice. You roll it. My roll to hit uses a wild die. His roll to dodge uses a wild die. Both of them can mishap. But I hit because I'm going to be rolling 5 dice. Now, I roll a particularly pitiful, say, 8 on my damage. And one of those dice is a quality die, and I rolled a 1 on it. I don't have to worry about that because it's a quality die. You don't have to worry about quality dice mishapping on damage or resist damage. That's pretty much the only time you roll quality dice, unless you're spending a character point to get extra dice.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever used quality dice.
Yeah, so generally speaking, quality dice you really only worry about for damage and resist damage.
Mhm.
They work exactly like spending character points. They can explode, but they can't mishap.
It's a win-win.
Yep. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning into this one, and we'll catch you guys all in the next one.
Roll a 6.
Don't roll a 1.